In Switzerland, many people visit Zermatt, Interlaken, Lauterbrunnen or other beautiful places to witness the beauty of our country. But what if I told you there's a valley, equally breathtaking, with panoramic trails and charming villages that most tourists completely overlook? Welcome to the Goms Valley in Valais, one of Switzerland's most beautiful hiking regions that you probably haven't heard of yet. As a local, I want to show you 5 of my favorite trails in this stunning valley. The first hike is by far the most popular one. You will see why in a few seconds. The hike starts on the Viersche Alp. At the beginning you hike through the ski resort, which isn't so beautiful. I was on vacation with Vivi, so you will see her throughout this video. After about half an hour of hiking, there were suddenly many rocks around us, so we knew we would see the stunning view soon. Then we finally saw the Aletsch Glacier. It left us absolutely speechless. By the way, I have some very good news that I will share later in this video. They are crucial if you consider to visit this region. The Aletsch Glacier offers some of the most breathtaking views I've ever seen. It's the largest glacier in the Alps, stretching for over 20 kilometers through the heart of the Valais. What looks like frozen ice is actually a slow-moving river flowing downhill year by year. From the trail above, you can still see the scars of the past, old moraines marking how massive this glacier once was. Walking beside it feels like witnessing both deep time and a changing future at the same moment.
Daylight goodbyes, cheek to cheek. Pretty people sat out in the streets. I think I'm gonna stay in Barcelona, babe. Something tells me I won't be coming.
After we had left the glacier, the surroundings were just as beautiful. It was already time to head back to Viersche Alp. I can highly recommend to do this hike as well. When looking at the map, we basically did a round hike. It's 13 kilometers in total. What I really liked about this hike is the amazing views. It's definitely something everyone should see once in their life. However, the downside of this hike is that there are so many people, which of course is to be expected. By the way, throughout this video I will also tell which 3 hikes are a must-do. This is definitely one of them. The second hike starts in Bellwald. There's a gondola from the valley to Bellwald and a chairlift that you can take from there. Our plan was to go to the Honeggerhorn and descend all the way down to Biel. It's a 11-kilometer hike. The first half of the hike was quite exhausting as there was a lot of uphill. However, we knew that there would be some beautiful mountain lakes soon, so we were really looking forward to that. It was a really nice spot to fly with the drone. I think now there's about half an hour left to the top. After the mountain lakes, the uphill continued, but it was not far anymore to the top. The higher we climbed, the more beautiful the view became. After we had reached the summit, we were really glad that there was finally some downhill. On the way down, we saw the famous black-nosed sheep for the first time in our lives. For the canton of Valais, they are an important symbol. They were really curious, which turned into a funny situation.
I've heard the songs of summer singing, like a humming hymn of June. There's always something around the corner, something more to be found. And I'm sure the coast of California are beautiful.
It was really nice that the sun came out again. At that point, we still had about half of the descent ahead of us. What I really liked about this hike is the remoteness. It was much less crowded compared to the Aletsch Glacier hike. However, what this hike lacks is a flat section. It was either uphill or downhill the whole way. Even though it's really beautiful, I don't think this hike is a must-do. On the third day of our vacation, we did the beautiful Seven Lakes Panoramic Trail. At the beginning of the hike we were next to Totesee, which is actually the biggest lake of the day. When looking at the map, we started on the Grimsel Pass and were heading west. Eventually we would descend down to Obergesteln. You could also go further west and descend there, but for time reasons we decided to do the shorter version of the hike. It's a distance of 14 kilometers and there's an elevation loss of around 1,300 meters. Since the start and end location are not the same, I can highly recommend to take the bus to the Grimsel Pass. At the beginning, I was asking myself if this trail was going to be too crowded because of its popularity.
See this through. We could lie here through the cold years, and I will watch you bloom.
The Seven Lakes hike in the Goms is one of the most scenic alpine routes in the region. The trail connects a series of crystal clear mountain lakes, each reflecting the surrounding peaks in a slightly different shade of blue. Thanks to the high starting point near the mountain passes, you feel immersed in the alpine landscape almost immediately. The terrain is varied but never too technical, making it a rewarding hike for experienced walkers and ambitious beginners alike. With wide panoramic views and peaceful stretches between the lakes, it's a route that perfectly captures the raw beauty of the Alps.
All is fire, all is storm. All is the clouds move. On and on, and on and on. On and on, and on and
Towards the end of the hike, we had a long descent ahead of us. I think now is a good time to finally share the good news I mentioned earlier in this video. For each hike I show, I have a full-length video on my channel. So if you find one or two hikes very interesting, you can get an even better insight if you want. What I really liked about the Seven Lakes hike is the stunning scenery. One disadvantage was that there was a bit more people. This hike is a must-do, especially if you don't like walking uphill. On day 4 I was hiking alone, as this hike is by far the most exhausting one, but it's also one of the most beautiful and rewarding. When looking at the map, I started in Reckingen and was heading to Stockji. From there I would take another trail to get back down to the valley. The hike is 16 kilometers long and has an elevation gain of 1200 meters. The first part of the hike was quite easy, but I knew that it would get more exhausting soon. At that point, I was asking myself if it's actually too hot for this hike, as the sun beat down on me.
With nothing to gain, nothing to lose, nothing to show, and nothing to prove. The weight of the world falls off my shoulders as the weight of your love comes crashing in, come crashing in.
I think now it takes another hour to reach the top. Let's do it. From here on, the trail becomes noticeably steeper, and at times it feels like you're walking almost straight up the mountain. The climb demands steady steps and a bit of endurance, which might explain why this route remains relatively quiet. But with every meter of elevation gained, the views grow even more impressive and expansive. The valley below begins to look smaller, while the surrounding peaks feel closer and more dramatic. It's the kind of ascent that tests your legs, but rewards you with unforgettable panoramas. I was sweating a lot, but I knew it was not far anymore to the top.
In the sky, you are my heart, you are my heart, you are my dream, come alive, my everything, my like no other. Yeah, I could stay here with you for forever.
Here at the top, the view was absolutely breathtaking. As you can see, it was quite rocky, but it didn't take long before I was walking on grass again. Overall, this hike was amazing and far exceeded my expectations. What really surprised me was that I didn't see a single person during the entire hike. That's something incredibly rare in Switzerland, especially on such a beautiful route. I think the only disadvantage was that it was an exhausting uphill, but this hike is still a must-do in my opinion. The fifth and last hike of this video is from the Grimsel Pass to the Oberaar lake. At the end of this hike you can see the Oberaar Glacier, which is the source of Switzerland's longest river. If you want to know more about the two other glaciers and the river, make sure to check out the full-length video. This hike is only 6 kilometers long, so it was by far the easiest hike so far. Because of that, I was asking myself how much fun it would be.
I'm just trying to puzzle piece. I'm just trying to get some sleep. But the ocean of my heart is raging. I don't really know what to say. Take a breath and try to breathe. I'm just trying to puzzle piece.
At the beginning the hike was quite steep, but then it was suddenly much flatter. At 2000 meters above sea level, we were surrounded by rugged granite landscapes and wide mountain views. The trail follows the shoreline of the Turquoise Reservoir, with the glacier-covered peaks rising dramatically in the distance. It's not technically difficult, but the high alpine atmosphere makes it feel wild and remote.
Couple of kids back then, in way over our heads,
The Oberaar lake now lay before me, and in the distance you can also see the Oberaar Glacier. Luckily there was a gondola to get back, it saved us a lot of time. I would say the short distance and the gondola are a big advantage of this hike if you want to take it easy. The biggest downside is that there is no option to do a round hike, you would need to hike the same trail back. All in all, it's definitely a nice hike, but not a must-do. I truly hope this video inspires you to look beyond the usual hotspots and discover this genuine hidden gem for yourself. Which of these hikes caught your eye the most? And after seeing all the beauty, would you consider visiting the Goms Valley on your next Swiss adventure? Let me know down in the comments below, I'd love to hear your thoughts.